Douglas Adams once wrote, "I may not have gone where I intended to go, but I think I have ended up where I needed to be." How might this quote describe an experience in your life?
In the 90s I lived in Springfield, Missouri and absolutely loved it there. Never wanted to be anywhere else. My wife finished college and got a job in another state not far away. I didn't want to move there but did reluctantly. Within a couple of years, I absolutely loved it there. Made a ton of friends, had a great job, and couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Lived there 20 years and thought it would be where I die. Last year we moved to Connecticut, again for my wife's job, and I love it here too and can't really imagine moving back. It turns out, it's not the place I live, but who I live with that matters. My wife is my home, and where she is where I need to be.
So a little over 2 years ago I dropped out of college due to financial issues. I was a shell of myself for a while after that, felt like a complete failure. I had been going to school for automation and robotics technology. I moved back in with my dad and took a job making disc blades for farm equipment. When I went to college, part of why I chose what I did was that I didn't want to do heavily manual labor. I left that to move 30 tons of steel by hand each night. I didn't really hate the job. It was nice to see the product I made in the fields all around. There were actually some blades made in that plant sitting outside my dad's garage, though they were probably made 30 years before I worked there. I took pride in my work, but I hated my life. My manager would ask me nightly when I was going back to school. He would tell me that I could do a lot better than I was. It really dug into me. I contemplated suicide a lot during that time. After working there for almost a year, massive flooding in the Midwest coupled with a trade war with China had us only able to work every other week. That wasn't working for me, so I decided to put in an application to work for a major window production company that I had interviewed for an internship with while in college. They hired me on for production. During the interview I had told them about my college experiences and that I had interviewed with the company previously for a position in another plant. I also told them I was interested in working maintenance. A couple months after starting that job, a maintenance position opened up and HR practically harassed me into applying. I ended up getting the job. It's not uncommon for people in the program I was in to end up working maintenance, so it was a major success for me. Things were definitely turning around. I started that job in January of this year. A few months later we had a new machine coming from our main plant, which is close to the college I attended. I recognized one of the guys who came to help set it up. He was in college with me. I went and talked to him and it was great to catch up. The best part was seeing that I was in the same position as someone who had completed the program. That was when I realized how far I had came from when I dropped out. I was not a failure. Despite everything, I was succeeding. The odds were not in my favor and I was pulling through. Fast forward to this last September, 2 years to the day since I dropped out, 1 week after my birthday. My job started sending me back to school, paying me to go to class. That was the day it really hit me. I was exactly where I belonged. This is what I have wanted for so long. This is my dream job. I make great money. I love the work I do. The company I work for is great to its employees. This is it. I can't put to words how lucky I am. So many people search their whole lives and never find a place where they fit in like this. This is not the first time I have typed this out, but every time it brings tears to my eyes. I don't know many people that are as happy with their lives as I am, and I just feel so lucky.
I was a certified Ford mechanic. 2008 to 2009 happened, and no work was coming in. Got a job offer to teach auto mechanics in Iraq to the new Iraqi army. As a result, I learned I have a passion for people trying to better their life. I ended up sponsoring my Iraqi interpreter to come to the US. Since then I came back and finished my degree, and now I'm in learning design at an amazing company. My Iraqi brother is now married here in the States to an amazing wife, and they have a kid. He has a great job and is finishing his degree as well. Life can be an amazing journey. Enjoy the ride.
It took several years to conceive our son. By the time he was 3-year-old, we had tried many times with medical assistance for a second. We have up and started an adoption. Well, after we got all the paperwork together and sent off to China, we found out my wife was expecting. Okay, we can deal with that. As my wife put it, what's the worst that could happen? But the ultrasound showed that it was twins. So my kids are 18, 14, 14 and 14 now. It's not what we would have ever planned, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Edit, ascribing it all to stress seems to be common. That comes across telling them it's all in your head, and blaming them for the years of infertility and often multiple miscarriages they have suffered. Dealing with infertility itself causes stress far more than stress causes infertility.
I got home once and absent-mindedly threw away my socks for no reason. I just took them off and put them in the trash. When I realized what I did, I dug through the trash only to find out that both socks had holes in them. Turns out they belonged in the trash anyway. I've never found a quote that described that situation more perfectly than this one.
While getting my degree, I was just taking classes that interested me that also had to do a little with my major. Turns out I was getting my minor in chemistry without even realizing it.
When I was younger I used to sleepwalk. I walked straight to the end of the hall where there were 2 doors, one to the bathroom and one to my older brother's room. Opened the door, lifted the lid, and peed. Turns out I had opened the door, lifted my brother's blanket, and peed. Not where I intended, but I finally got back at that jerk for farting on me for years.
I think life is happier when you learn to let go of the what-ifs and appreciate what you have.
Got a job in concert security. Somehow. I'm a tiny, incredibly non-intimidating 5'4" female who at the time had waist-length blonde hair. I was terrified and had no idea what I was doing. Anything involving security is not something I ever imagined my quiet self doing, and it really shocks people when they find out. But I gained so much confidence from that job. You have to be pretty assertive to tell a sexist old redneck white guy that his pocket knife is not coming in no matter how much of a tantrum he throws. I learned pretty quick not to take any beep from people like that. Also got to interact with artists and other celebrities occasionally, which is an interesting experience and entirely different skill set. Still no concerts where I am thanks to COVID, but I'll be going back to that job as soon as I can.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
I feel like this every few weeks when I really help a kid or parent-child psychologist. I must be where I need to be at least some of the time. Still wish I was a rock star though, winking face.
I wanted to be a teacher. I currently work at a thrift store. Today one of my managers told me how much me working there means to her.
I found out I was pregnant in February 2020. In June we found out baby girl has a heart defect. I had her a month early, during a pandemic, after a pregnancy full of complications. We spent 65 days in the NICU and collected a dozen diagnoses and specialists. We will have surgeries and procedures and appointments for the foreseeable future. This is not what I expected when I saw those 2 pink lines 10 months ago. This isn't the dream I had. But, when she's cuddled on my chest, her tiny hand clutching my shirt, making tiny squeaks, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm so happy she chose me to be her mommy. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I am more assertive, patient, resilient, and thankful. I was given her as my daughter for a reason and I don't plan to waste it.
I suffered an extreme trauma that took my legs. I also went through a month trapped in my own nightmares while in an induced coma. Needless to say, it is an experience I would never put anyone else through. I came out the other side of that far more empathetic, patient, and understanding as well. The personality change is so drastic, people that knew me before say I'm an entirely different person. I'm a loving father as this new me. I met the love of my life as this new me. Despite how hard living in this body is, I love life more than ever. If I could see into the past and alter what happened, I wouldn't. The suffering was horrific, but transformative. To become who I am now, the accident must happen. I'm sorry past me, but if I'm honest, you aren't a good person. I don't miss being you.
The older you get, the more you realize that this is true for the majority of people.
COVID wrecked my plans to move away from my hometown. However, being in this area has provided me with opportunities to get a decent paying job, one I applied for a year ago but didn't get at the time, and to teach classes at a local community college, very valuable experience as I hope to someday go further in academia. The circumstances that allowed me to get this job were somewhat uncommon, so I was very lucky to have this opportunity here. I still want to move away after a year or two, but for now I'm at a good spot.
You are missing some important context. Just prior to that, Dirk says something along the lines of, I find someone who looks like they know where they are going and follow them. Then ends that with, I may not go where I intend to go but usually end up where I need to be. This is the holistic part of his detective agency philosophy. I applied this by following the Grateful Dead on the Touch of Grey tour.
Straight out of high school, I followed my love of theater into going to university for theater production. After a few years of not knowing when I'd see my next paycheck, and went back to college for business. Turns out I'm no good in a classroom setting, so I left. Now I work at a job I love, a cannabis store, and spend my days with the coolest people, and sometimes help someone get through the pain of chemo or get to sleep after a week of restless nights. But I like to say that I have a useless arts degree, dropped out of business school, and now I'm a drug dealer. Edit, a word.
In middle school, kissed my best friend and got teased mercilessly for being gay. Parents yanked me out of school and tried to beat the gay out of me. Got sent to Christian camps in a different high school across county, so I didn't have any of the same friends who could influence me toward sin. Basically started my entire social life over at 14 as an abused kid wanting to die. Met my husband in that high school. Our first date was 11 years ago. Heart. Still gay AF. Parents didn't win. Edit. This is getting more attention than I thought, and I've got a couple super sleuths going through my comment history and sending me crazy messages. Don't mean to mislead anyone. I'm a fab. I have a husband. He's a glitch in the matrix and my soulmate and about the only dude I'm attracted to. So I technically am bi. Consider myself gay AF. Sorry if my sexuality and practice pisses you off.
In the late 90s, I was in the Navy and getting ready to transfer to shore duty, so I was calling my detailer. He had orders for me to stay in Jacksonville, or I could go somewhere else. I decided to wait and talk to my wife that night, because she had mentioned wanting to move. When I talked to her, she said to take the orders in Jacksonville. That night, though, there was a huge snowstorm across the Midwest, and the detailers were not able to come to work for a week. By the time I was able to get back in touch with him, the orders were already taken. I had to move to Pensacola, then got orders to Italy, where my wife and I split up and got a divorce. In 2005 I retired from the Navy and ended up in California. I got a great job, which I still have, and remarried. We now live in Texas and have twin 8-year-old girls. I couldn't imagine my life without them. It's not where I intended to be, but this is where I belong.
Never planned to divorce, never planned to leave Arizona, never planned to remarry, never planned to leave a career I loved, never planned to be hit by a car. I've done all of that in the last 2 years. I completely rewrote my entire life and every plan I had in every way imaginable. Would not have it any other way. My new husband and my new life are a level of happiness I've never known. Seriously, even recovering from a serious injury and everything that has gone with that is better than my previous life because of who I have to love me now.
In college it was my dream to get an internship at Harley-Davidson. I rode a Harley, worked at a Harley dealer during the summers, and even though my GPA wasn't perfect, I thought I was more than qualified for the job. I still do. I had a preliminary interview with them through a recruiting company and I never even got to the second round. The internship I got ended up being a way better opportunity. It was only a few miles from my parents, I got a free gym membership to the gym next door, and the culture was great. Getting snubbed by Harley was just what I needed.
Me being in the military. From a young age, I wanted to join. I enlisted at 18, with the plan of finishing my degree and 4 with being in the same career field when I went to active. Those first 4 years were dark, bleak, and an eye-opener for me. Many thoughts of getting out, intentionally failing to get the boot, and many other ways. It's where I realized in the hardest times where you truly shine brightest. This is where I had to check myself. Get my ass in gear and quit waiting for external forces to motivate me to get beep done. It led me having to make sacrifices, to include paying back a sign-on bonus. From there, I got my journeyman skill level, onto craftsman next, promoted to an NCO, now wrapping up my bachelor's. It's been a rough, hard and long road, but I know it was for the better.
I'll let you know if I ever find anywhere I feel like I belong.
I absolutely can't relate with that statement.
What is this, a beep essay prompt?
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.